We went back to our original agreement that we had written 18 months prior, and we had spelled it all out. And he's like, "Oh, yep, you know what? You're right. I misunderstood, but here it is in writing."
The way I got started was I said, okay, I want to do this. So I found the lots, put everything together, got them under contract. And the deal was supposed to be, I did all the work, they put up all the money
Hmm.
and, got the loans, and we were going to split the profits 50-50. That's the way it was supposed to work. But the first lesson I learned was, I partnered with the wrong guy. He was a developer and he was teaching me the business.
Yep.
And I went and tied up a bunch of lots and we started building all these houses, and we didn't have anything in writing. It was just a handshake. This guy was, my wife's best friend in college. That she was maid of honor, and in her wedding, it was her
Yeah.
husband. So I thought I could
Uh-huh.
trust the guy,
Sure.
and he took me to the cleaner. So we didn't have an agreement in writing. So it was supposed to be, I'm the builder. He was supposed to bring all the money. The first thing that happened was when I made the phone call saying, "Hey, we need the working capital deposit." He said, "Oh, well, I can't just move, $100,000 around. You got to give me time." So I ended up starting the projects and funding the startup of the projects. Next thing you know, I'm signing on the loans with him. He was supposed to be the money. He was supposed to be the loan guarantor, but he
Uh-huh.
didn't have enough, to qualify on his own. So I had to sign the loans with him.
Oh gosh.
Then our deal was we were going to sell the houses when they were finished. Now here's where it gets interesting. We were going to sell the houses when we finished, because at the time I was trying to build my capital and I wanted to sell. And then he
Yeah.
started talking about, well, why don't we hold them for a year and pay long-term gains? And I'm like, I need the cash now. Like,
Right.
I've got my money tied up in this. You were
Yes.
supposed to do that. I
Yes.
need to get the money out. And, I wanted to build a little cash pile. So what he ended up doing was he ended up refinancing the houses and pocketing the cash equity from the
Uh-huh.
build side. And he didn't even tell me.
Oh
Like,
my god.
like he falsified the documents. Like, I
Wow.
was on the loan. He went and paid the loan off,
Uh-huh.
refinanced without my signature,
Yeah.
and pulled all the equity out of the houses. So I ended up having to sue him. Then I ended up settling for about a quarter of what those houses were worth. And
Gotcha.
he kept them, pulled his equity out, and did that whole thing, and just totally cheated me. So that's the structure that was supposed to be when we first
Sure.
started out. But
Yeah.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons during that process.
Sure.
And I did make some money and I got some good experience, and I was off to the races after that. And
Yeah.
any deal I did after that, usually it would be somebody else would put up all the money. I did everything else. We had ironclad written documents, and I
Right.
didn't put a nickel into anything. I
Yeah.
made sure, they performed and, did their thing. But the key is have everything in writing, before you do anything.
Yes.
And that kind of keeps everybody accountable.
Yeah, for sure. I've talked about that. Actually, the development deal I did with my friend at the very end, when we were selling off the last lot, there was some misunderstanding about profit splits on that last lot. So we went back to our original agreement that we had written 18 months prior, and we had spelled it all out. And he's like, "Oh, yep, you know what? You're right. I guess somehow in my head I got it. I misunderstood, but here it is in writing. Cool. We're
Everybody
good."
remembers differently. Everybody,
Yeah.
yeah, you just never know. So if you just have it all out front, everything, who's going to do what, how the splits are going to work, the whole 9 yards,
Yep.
and go to a good attorney that does real estate development, joint venture structures, because they're going to have all of the things that normal people wouldn't, most people
Right.
aren't going to think about, right?
Sure.
Especially when it comes to development, there's a lot of things that can happen along the way. But if you've got it all in writing up front, that solves any issues on the back end.